All right, here we go. Today we have Sharay Hayes, a.k.a. Punisher, who recently took the stand in the Diddy trial to discuss being hired as an escort to have intercourse with Cassie while Diddy watched. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Man, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate being here.
I just want to start off that I feel a little uncomfortable calling you Punisher. As a heterosexual male, I just want to put that out there. I mean, I will mention the name because, you know, that's your alias, but I just want to have that disclaimer in the very beginning.
Just want to say that. Man. You got to keep it solid, right?
Got to keep it solid. Got to keep it solid. Well, you have a very interesting story, and I want to get into a little bit of it before we get into, you know, what we're really here to talk about. Now, you grew up in Harlem.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said your dad was kind of a gangster around the neighborhood?
Yeah, man. Like he had a pretty good reputation, man. A lot of intimidation that got me like a lot of respect and a lot of treatment, you know, great treatment as a kid. But, you know, that led him into prison at a very young age. So we didn't really rekindle our relationship till I got to my late teens because he ended up getting locked up.
What did you get locked up for?
Bank robbery.
Bank robbery?
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty bold there.
Yeah.
How much did he get?
He got 8 years federal.
8 years.
Yeah.
How much money did he get from the bank?
The crazy thing is not much, man. It was more of he didn't do like the in the bank robbery. It was, you know, how businesses do the bank drop. So he tried to rob the bank drop and, you know, it got compromised. The person had a pistol and didn't go right.
Now, while you're growing up, when you're in high school, you had a situation where you got stabbed?
Yeah, man. Just, you know, hanging out in Harlem, thinking I'm tough. I'm at a party. Some guys don't like my friend, and we get into something outside, and I got the bottle. You know, you crack the bottle, and somebody came from behind, caught me on the side of the neck, spent 10 days in the hospital. I had 10 stitches in, 10 stitches out. It was a really, really, really significant wound, but I mean, I'm 16 years old, man. I'm pumped up on testosterone and adrenaline, and actually you would think something like that would calm you down, but it made you worse. You know, made me worse because I had this mentality of, well, look, I already survived it. Like, what's the chances of something happening again? And it made me a little more reckless, but luckily I found sports, and that kind of leveled it out for me. Okay,
and the Punisher name came from basketball?
Yeah, man, basketball, man. I started hooping real seriously. Getting stabbed, I ended up missing a year of high school. So when I started back up, I went to Martin Luther King, ended up on the basketball team. I played my junior and senior year, and actually ended up with a partial scholarship to Southern University in Baton Rouge to hoop.
Okay. Did you end up actually going to college, or?
Yeah, I went to Southern University. I went to hoop, but I still had kind of like a Harlem, even though I'm not going to front like I was a street kid, but when you're young and a teenager, you want to be tough. So I walked around with kind of that bravado. You take a Harlem kid and you put him in the middle of Louisiana, and it just wasn't going to work, man. So I stayed like a semester, had a little bit of ego, didn't feel like I was going to start, like I'm going to come into a Division I program and play immediately. Told myself I was going to come back to New York and transfer to Iona because my uncle's like an All-American from Iona. His name's Gary Springer. And I'm thinking I'm a transfer, and I never even went back to school.
Okay, so by 22, you became a male stripper.
Yeah.
Okay, what led you into that?
Yo, I ended up staying in a relationship with my high school sweetheart, and she came home one day and just was like, I'm gonna start working in a female strip club, and basically gave me no choice. It was like, take it or leave it. So I took it, like I didn't, you know, I was in love. And about a year into her doing that, she came home one day talking about, I'm meeting all these guys. You know, I don't want to be tied down anymore. And she dumped me. So my 21-year-old mind thought it was a good idea that, oh, I'll show her. I'm going to go be a stripper too. And then she'll see all the girls into me and feeling me. And then I'll get her back. And that's really was the motivation to get my girlfriend back.
Okay, so describe to me the first night doing male stripping, because it's very different than a regular female strip club.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So my first night actually was doing house parties. The guy who introduced me, like put me on to it, he was like really popular in the game. So like a male dancer, you'll get 5 or 6 parties a night where you just go from house to house to house, and there's bachelorette parties. So he just took me with him and was like, yo, bro, let's go. When you come in, just say you're a stripper already. Don't say you're a new guy, and just kind of, come along with me to see the ropes. And one of the spots he got to, the girls was like, who's your friend? And they were like, do you want him to dance? And so he comes in the room like, bro, they want you to dance. How much money you want? And I didn't even want to dance. I was terrified. So I was like, I'm going to think of a lot of money, so it's going to outprice me and they don't want me to dance. And I was like, tell them I want $50, right? So he comes back and throws me the 50. And I went out there with this little eye patch thong on and some Saucony track sneakers and just hopped around their living room. It must have looked crazy, man. I picked up the Bachelorette. She was a little heavy. Reggae song was on. She started bogling. I fell over, dropped, landed on top of her. It was complete, like, it was a horror show, man. But it was what it happened. I made it happen, and 30 years later, I'm still on the hustle.
Okay, so were you getting naked or just like a thong kind of situation?
Yeah, at the time, just down to like a little eye patch.
Okay.
Yeah, a little G-string. But it eventually got to the point where, not necessarily negate, because that doesn't really work with women, but it does get to a point where you do something which is called flash. So, like, when you get further in the business, you understand the illusions, right? So if anybody's seen videos of male dancers, and sometimes it looks like they walking with like something swinging down to their knee, right? That's something called beefing up, where prior to the show, you get in a, and you use something similar to like a ring, and you tie it on the base. So you're basically tying your erection to keep the blood in. And after about 20, 30 minutes, it does get painful or whatever, but you got to kind of just manage it. But it gives the illusion like you're walking around with this swinging, because it's not fully, but it's hanging. So you look like in a flaccid state, you like 6 inches flaccid. So women going to think, wow, if that thing gets erect, it's going to be big. So you start doing this illusion, and it gives you like a little reputation to walk around. And if you tie it well enough, at some point in your show, you can have a moment where you pull it out and then the girls just go nuts.
Okay, so you're dancing for these women, and these are sometimes overweight women, like you mentioned, and middle-aged women. These are not like supermodels that you're doing this for.
Nah, if you're gonna get like a 10% ratio, like 1 out of every 10 girls is like, okay, she's nice, but the other 9,
Okay. Now, leading up to the situation with Diddy and Cassie, were women actually paying you to have with them?
Nah, that, like, being a male was not necessarily my hustle, but you do get opportunities but it's never, women are not overt with, hey, how much for, like, that's not how they do. So when you get propositioned by women, it's usually, do you do one-on-ones? Can I hire you to dance for me? Just me, or do you do massages, right? So it always starts out as some sort of just one-on-one intimate thing. But if you read between the lines, there's a possibility where she wants it to escalate. So have I been hired for a one-on-one dance that led into sex? Yes. You know what I'm saying? But have I ever said, hey, this is XYZ an hour? You know what I'm saying? Whatever. No, because, women are not going to hire you under those pretenses. There's always some sort of intimacy that can lead to the opportunity.
Okay, so leading up to the Cassie situation, how many women actually hired you for one-on-ones?
I want to say leading up to the Cassie situation, I would say maybe 20, 25.
Okay. And how much did you charge each time?
I mean, listen, I was still a dancer, right? So I'm charging a dancer's rate. So I guess I'm probably the cheapest gigolo in the city because I'm getting a dancer's rate. And if it led to, honestly, it wasn't because I got paid for it. Was because this is a woman I would have had with anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's attractive. She's somebody that I would deal with. And if she hired me for a one-on-one and there was some actual attraction, then obviously I'll let it go to the next step.
Okay, but you told me that only 1 out of 10 are actually attractive, so...
Well, I'm talking about, that's in the club.
Okay.
So in the club, there's 500 women, right? Yeah. So I'm saying 1 out of every 10 of those 500 women are attractive. When women call me for a one-on-one, then I can kind of screen what it is. And now, mind you, even with that ratio, I got called for probably 20, 30 parties a week. Like in my height of dancing, I was extremely popular, and culturally, it was the thing to do, like hire a male stripper, you know what I'm saying? So I became kind of like a local celebrity as a male during that time frame, you know?
Yeah, my man Roger Bonds, who I just put you on FaceTime with, said he knew of you.
Yeah.
Said, you know, he was a Harlem guy, you're a Harlem guy. You guys didn't know each other, I think, personally, but he knew of you.
Yeah.
And he basically said how around that time, a lot of guys were coming out of prison and they were all like jacked up from working out, and a lot of them would go into male and so forth. Did you see a lot of that?
Yeah, I seen the attempt of it. Like, you know, every guy think, yo, I'm in good shape, I can just do this. But it's not really that easy, man. Like, if you'll get a couple of parties, you'll come through, you'll make a couple of bucks, but if you're gonna do it as a living, it probably was just a handful of guys that consistently did it, and you gotta build a reputation. You gotta be known for it to be profitable other than a couple of bucks, maybe once or twice a month, you know?
Okay, so 2012, you're around 38 years old at the time. You have a website called Get Punished.
Yes.
And you get contacted by a female from this website.
Yep.
Which ended up being Cassie.
Exactly.
So what was the first contact like?
Seemed like just a normal, typical party. I pick up the phone. It's like she introduces herself as Janet.
Janet.
Yep, it's Janet, and she says it's her birthday. She said, it's my birthday, and my husband told me that I can have an entertainer, and I'm celebrating with some friends. So we want you to come through and do a dance for me and my friends. So I'm expecting a small gathering of women to do a show. And so we scheduled it. We picked the time. He told me the Trump Hotel. And the time originally was like midnight, then it got pushed to 1, then it got pushed to 2, and I think eventually we scheduled on like 2:45 a.m.
Okay. And was money discussed at this point?
Yeah, the going rate at the time to a regular was like $200. So that's what I quoted.
Okay. So you show up to the Trump Hotel. What happens next?
Bro, it's crazy because I'm coming there expecting a party, and the door opens and it's Janet, and she's basically in a robe, but it's completely obvious that she's nude underneath. And she kind of just opens the door with this big inviting smile. Hey, how you doing? And I'm like, because listen, man, we live in a time with filters, and every woman can make themselves look attractive and beautiful in social media and stuff like that. But when you see a woman like Miss Ventura, and she looks flawless, man. It's like, it's a wow factor, you know? So opening the door to that stunning of a woman was like, what is this? And I like, she's, right? So you can tell she's naked. So she's like, come on in, and I'm heading on in, you know?
Okay, so you come in the room, and there's someone else in the room.
Nope.
At that point, no.
No.
Just her.
So it's a suite, right? So she brings me in, and she takes me straight to the living room. And the living room is darkly lit, it's dim. And then what was weird about it is every piece of furniture was covered in sheets. So I look around, I have like a little mini freak out because I think I had just watched this movie called American Psycho. And when he used to bring people into his house to kill him, he used to cover all his furniture. So I'm like, yo, what's about to happen? But whatever, I regained my composure, and we stopped in front of a bathroom, and so I immediately asked, I still think I'm gonna dance, right? So I say, do you want me to change here? So she immediately explains, look, I don't want you to dance. Actually, while you're here is me and my husband, we like to create a scene. So she starts explaining to me that she wants me to change into underwear or a towel, and then she points to 2 of the couches, and she said, we're gonna sit on those couches, you're gonna sit here, I'm gonna be here, and we're gonna put baby on and create like a environment, and at some point, my husband's gonna come out and watch.
Okay, so how much baby oil was around at this point?
So the baby oil, ironically, by the couches, there were like bowls, and the bowls were filled with warm water. and there were just big bottles of baby oil just placed in the bowl. So
Okay.
I want to say it was 2 to 3 bottles of baby oil, but the big ones, the
jumbo.
the thirst busters.
Okay. All right. So you start putting the baby oil on at this point?
Yeah, so I go in the bathroom, change to the towel. I come out. She's in the robe, so she takes her robe off. I'm in my towel, and we're both first individually oiling each other. And then it leaves, I'm oiling myself, she's oiling herself, then we start oiling each other. And then there's some sort of like, we're creating this environment. And at some point, shortly after that started, her husband walked into the room.
Okay. Now, this husband that walks in the room was a black male.
Black male.
Who was only wearing a veil on his face?
Yes. So he walks into the room. Now, one part that I left out is part of the instructions initially was in creating these scenes, when her husband came in, we were not supposed to acknowledge him at all. I was supposed to act like he's not there. Don't look at him, don't talk to him, try my best to just make believe he's not in the room. So even when he walks in, I have to look at him from my peripherals, but I'm gonna look, right? Because I never been in a situation. It's kind of odd. So he does walk in. I can kind of see, but then when it gets to his neckline, it's like I think they call a burqa, like the Muslim women wear it, and you can only see the eyes.
Okay. So you got this guy in the room with you. You don't know who it is, though.
I have no idea.
He's not talking or anything else like that at this point?
Not at this point. He just comes in. I notice in his hands a purple top. So I use Astroglide so I can kind of make out he had Astroglide. And across the room, there was like a table with a chair. So he kind of sat at the table in the chair, and he sat there, and he would get up and kind of walk side to side and pace side to side, which you could tell he was trying to get better visual angles.
Okay. What happens next?
With the visual angles, he would start giving very subtle directions. But it was just more or less on viewing. Like the room was candlelit, so he would at times get her attention and tell her, "Hey, move the candle to the left, move the candle to the right, turn your body this way." And he never spoke directly to me, but it could be instructions for me to turn my body, for me to get in different positions. And so this went on about 20, 25 minutes. Eventually, he just got up and left the room. That was kind of like a cue for her to follow him. She left the room, and then she just came back and was like, "That was great. It was perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Like, we're good." But then she asked me, "Do I want to finish?" And so me finishing is referring to me having an. But honestly, man, with the environment and stuff, I'm kind of uncomfortable. So I declined. Like I went the high road. Like professionally, like, look, if you guys are happy, I'm happy. It's not about my needs. As long as everything is good, cool. And she accepted that. I stood up, and she handed me $1,200. And that was in addition. I didn't mention when I first got there, prior to changing, the first thing she did was handed me $800. And after everything was over, it was an additional $12. So I ended up with $2,000 for like a 20-minute baby oil massage. So it was a win for me.
Okay. And so you guys didn't have, but you rubbed baby oil on her body and everything else like that. So there was definitely activity, but not full-blown.
Not full-blown, no.
Okay. So you got $2,000, and you didn't recognize Cassie at all, did you?
I did not, man.
At that point, yeah.
I saw a face, but I couldn't completely make it out. Like, so she had on a wig, right? So she's wearing a wig. So later after the fact, I didn't have the cue of the shaved hair, kind of look. So, and I'm looking at the face, and I just couldn't figure it out. When I left, I tried to jump on Google. I knew they had to be some sort of celebrity couple, but I think what was throwing me off was I thought they were married. So all my Google searches are married couple, married couple, married couple. And obviously they're not gonna come up under that search term.
Okay, so you get paid $2,000 for that first act. When did the next call come?
The next call probably was like months later. I wasn't even expecting it. She did say in the conclusion of that first one, hey, I'm comfortable with you. I would like to call you back. But it was when we're in town. So I don't know. And I got a random text message saying, hey, are you available or whatever? But I didn't, my number's on a website, right? So I get all types of crazy messages and I didn't remember. So I kind of asked, look, I don't remember who you are. Can you text me a photo? And then the person just cut communication. And then later that day, I got the number I had locked in from Janet, right? And she said, hey, that was my husband earlier that contacted you directly. This is us. Are you free? And then I ended up coming back.
Okay, so that second session, what happened then?
All the sessions were pretty consistent, man. Same thing, baby, all play, but these led into, so it was clear that there was a interest in it. I knew this because there was always pre-conversation where I would show up like normal conversation, and then the conversation started happening of, are you tested? Do you go to the doctor? Like, I'm tested, I'm clean, I'm whatever. So I kind of know what that means, right? So I figured it's going to lead into sex. And it was very systematic. Always couches, oil, subtle directions, but instead of it stopping at just rubbing, now it's going to go into oral and penetration, and, it just leads into sex.
Well, in that first session, Diddy had covered his face.
Yeah.
Same thing with the second session?
Same thing with the second session. His face remained covered, and it remained clueless of who they were for me to literally probably a year to like 15 months in.
Okay, so the second session, you guys actually have...
Yeah.
No condoms?
Condoms.
Condoms.
Yeah, it eventually led to no condoms, but that was probably about 4 or 5 sessions in.
Okay, now in your book, you talked about kind of dealing with erectile dysfunction and so forth.
Yeah.
So, and this is, you're dealing with that in a one-on-one situation, but now you have a guy masturbating in the corner, which I'm sure made it even harder.
Oh, forget about it,
to stay hard and to climax and so forth, right?
Extremely, man.
Yeah.
Extremely. And what was difficult about it too was it wasn't just a guy in the corner. It was directions, like, right? He's like, we're in the middle of trying to be in a state, and it's like, hey, move this to the left. And then she'll move it, then no, further to the left. No, a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So it's very directed to the point where I can't block it out. Like, I have to acknowledge it. And so there's no way I'm pushing past my discomfort because it's there presently. And then obviously there's a part where he's pleasuring himself. Like he's pleasuring himself, he's masturbating. So, and I can see this from my peripheral. So it's super uncomfortable, man. So I'm just over medicating. I'm taking every pill. Listen, if it was supposed to take 20 milligrams, I'm taking 80.
Wow.
Yeah, I probably could have gave myself a heart attack sometimes, man. Like, well, it was over the top.
Okay, and were you climaxing yourself or no?
Well, so climaxing actually was mandatory.
For you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like these sessions had to end with me climaxing.
Okay.
Yeah, like, so that was like part of the request. And it was a specific climax. I had to climax every single time in the outside area of her vagina.
Oh, so you pulled the condom off initially and then just come on her.
Yeah.
Okay. On the stand, she said that guys would climax on her and she would take the cum and rub it on Diddy's nipples. Was this happening in your sessions?
Well, so it is an assumption, right? So, obviously with the veil, there was a very deliberate attempt to hide his identity.
Yeah.
So they never had any interactions or even any outward conversation in my presence. So there was a routine where sometimes we'll be right in the middle of and he'll just stand up and walk out of the room. And she would take that cue and she would follow him out. So I did recognize, and I mentioned it in my book, that it became a habit that we're having sex on couches with sheets. We started in towels. I would climax, but she would specifically leave the room without wiping herself, without doing anything to take care of the whatever I left on her. So I assumed that's when he popped up, because once I climbed up, he popped up, he left the room, she popped up, she followed him. So I'm assuming that's when the lathering, whatever went on, happened at that point.
Okay, so at what point did he stop wearing a veil?
It was shortly after. The way that I ended up finding out who he was and they were, because they're obviously in conjunction with each other, about the fifth time we were in a hotel called the Essex House. And when I would arrive for the sessions, I would be waiting around a couple of hours. So in this specific time, they put me into an extra room in the hotel suite. And to kill time, I decided to watch TV. And this specific hotel had a welcome message, which was, so when I cut on the TV, it specifically said, Essex House would like to welcome Mr. Sean Combs.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa, like I was blown away, man.
Right. Well, because Puffy is from Harlem, you're from Harlem, so it's hitting really close to home.
Yeah,
Plus,
man.
it's Diddy. Everyone knows who that is.
Come on, man. I that's my era. Like, I grew up in that era. And I felt even more like a jerk, right? Because I literally followed him on social media. So for a year, like, I'm not all the way into his post, but I followed him. Like, he would pop up on my timeline from time to time, and I had no idea.
And you didn't know that it was Cassie up to this point either?
I didn't recognize it.
You didn't put it all together?
Yeah, I didn't put it all together. Like,
Okay.
I was aware of Cassie, but I mean, her hit song probably was...
Yeah, 2009 maybe?
Maybe even before that. Maybe 2005, you know?
No, it wasn't 2005. Cassie.
That Me and You. The song I was familiar with was the Me and You song. When was it?
No, you're right, 2006.
Yeah,
So, you're right. No, you're
so
right.
I'm
Yeah.
you know, it's years later.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Okay, so now you see Sean Combs on the screen, and now your mind is putting the pieces together. And you're like, oh my God, this dude in the corner all this time was Diddy.
Yeah.
So this must be Cassie.
Yeah.
And now it all hits you. What did you think when you realized that?
I'm definitely blown away. It all makes sense now, right? You know, some of the whole, you know, one specific hotel we were in, the London hotel, the suite we were in was so insane. I actually looked it up when I got out of there, and it was like $30,000 a night. So I'm like, all right, this makes sense. But then I'm even more paranoid, right? Because, you know, I can't validate none of this stuff or whatever. I'm going from what my thought process is. But growing up in Harlem, growing up at that time, there was always rumors about his, right? So
Yeah, that he was possibly gay or bisexual.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm worried about, well, look, I don't want it to be a scenario where there's an advance, you know what I'm saying? Or something like, you know.
We got some extra money for you this time.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get to take that literally, man. You know what I'm saying? So and luckily, look, when we respect, nothing ever happened, nothing even close. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you a question, though, because I have a lot of friends in the adult film industry, male and female and so forth. And, you know, sometimes, you know, yeah, I don't want to do this, but if the money's right, then I'll do it. Right? So if, let's just say, Diddy said, listen, for $100,000, I want you to do something with me involved as well. Would you do it?
I mean, look, bro, me and my friends, we play around with those hypotheticals. Like,
Yeah.
yo, for $1 million, would you? You know what I'm saying? Whatever, man. Like,
Yeah, but this is Diddy, who actually has $1 million to spare.
yeah, but like I said, man, I'm a straight guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of compromising myself. And honestly, in this situation, I'm not financially hurting, right? Like, I own a business. Like, I own the brownstone in Harlem. Like, I'm turning down these things unless it works for me, right?
Got it.
I'm there. I'm not, the money's nice, but it also helps that is Cassie, right? Like, look at this chick. Like, I'm trying to, like, can I focus here and not focus there? I wasn't being very successful at it, but it was just something to work. But it wasn't going to be a scenario where I was going to auction my manhood to the highest bidder. You know what I'm
Got
saying?
it.
Like, wasn't that part of it?
Right, and you said that Diddy never joined in.
Never.
Okay. Were there times where you couldn't climax?
One time specifically, But no, I did every single time. There was times I struggled because, if any guy that's over-medicated with these pills, your erection is not out of desire. It's literally a medical erection.
Yeah.
And you go numb, and it's really, really hard to climax. So one specific time, my blood pressure was probably through the roof. My face was flushed, and I literally had to drink a glass of ice water. I had to do some research, drink a glass of ice water to bring my blood pressure down, and I was able to make myself climax. But there was definitely times where it was hard to try to make that happen.
Okay, well, at one point, the veil came off.
Yeah, and it was shortly after me seeing the TV, right? So I don't know if this is for certain, but it's already a year or something in, the TV's on. I never say I know. I just played a role. I'm still calling her Janet. You know what I'm saying? But I guess they figured it out and it switched from a veil to a baseball cap.
So he would just wear a Yankee fitted?
Yeah, butt naked.
And that's it?
Yeah.
No Tim's on, nothing?
I am, bro. First of all, I'm trying not to look below the shoulders.
I got
so
you.
I definitely ain't seeing what's on his feet.
Okay, I'm playing with you. All right, so now you got Diddy in a Yankees hat in the corner with his face showing.
Yeah.
And now you're realizing that you're sleeping with Cassie in front of him.
Yeah.
And then at one point, there's no condoms.
Yeah, so all of this ironically happened in that same day. So this probably, almost every one of these encounters happened in a living room scenario. That same day in the Essex house, for whatever reason, we started in the living room, and he suggested we move to the bedroom. So we end up in the bedroom, and this is the closest proximity he's ever been the entire time, because we're in the bedroom now, so he's kind of pacing the bed, watching from bedside. And at some point, I'm performing oral sex on her. So, as a man, you perform oral sex on a woman, and when you finish, it's that transition from oral to penetration. Mm-hmm. So I finish oral, I pop up, she's kind of there with her legs open, and she starts to move her body towards me, but at the same time, she looks at him. And he kind of looks at her and he says, go ahead, have a good time. And I don't have a condom on, I don't whatever, and that was the first time we had unprotected sex. And he gave her the go ahead. So.
Okay. Well, I have to repeat what Cameron asked you. How's the pussy?
And I got to repeat what Cameron told me. So that day specifically. Dude, I was petrified, bro. I couldn't feel anything. I could not do it. That day, I went down to some shop in the village, and I got some 2,000 milligram pill called Trio Power Zen. Bro, I couldn't feel a thing, man. I couldn't feel a thing. I was really over-medicated, just trying to have an erection, and that kills any sensation that I could feel. I was really numbed out. So,
but if you orgasm, you are obviously feeling a pleasurable act.
Every orgasm, I had to manually.
Oh, really?
Out. Yeah.
So you never actually about to come and pull out and bust. Oh.
Every single time we would stop, whatever this was, and it was that's how I told you it was almost mandatory, because it wasn't in the normal flow.
Aha.
It was finish the second part, and then I would have to rub one out. And it was a concentrated, you know what I'm saying? I gotta get, it was like that.
Okay. And this whole time, you're not talking to Diddy at all, ever?
Never have one word of communication.
Was it still 2,000 every time, or would the numbers go up?
It would sometimes it would be 12, sometimes it would be 2,000. I don't know specifically why the number would vary. Mm-hmm. I initially went there for a $200 party, so I'm not negotiating, right? It's still $1,200 is still way more than I originally charged. So I kind of just showed up, and whatever she handed me at the end of the night is what I took.
Okay. And you said that sometimes these sessions would last multiple days?
Not the sessions would last multiple days, but I would get called every few months. But that when I am called, it could be come Friday night, leave, come back Saturday night, leave, come back Sunday night.
Okay, so multiple days, but you would leave, come back.
So let's say the sessions itself, the sex was always under an hour. But I could be there 4 or 5 hours because it was a lot of waiting around time. A lot of just, I'm here, and it's always these huge, huge suites. So I'm like in a room somewhere, I don't know where they're at. And then she'll just come get me at some point in the wee hours of the morning.
Were there drugs involved?
I never seen any outward drugs. Just on a cordial scenario, every time I would come in, she would offer me a drink. She usually would have what I think is weed. I'm not necessarily a weed smoker, and she would offer. I'm not a weed, so like I said, I'm not a weed smoker. I think one time I, just trying to fit in, I might have took a puff, but nothing to get me under the influence, but I did not see any drug use.
Okay. At any point, did you feel that Cassie was being forced to do this, that this was being done against her will, that, she was suffering through these situations, or was she honestly enjoying it? I mean, as men, we know when a woman is enjoying being with us as opposed to like, they're not really into us.
Yeah, so the answer to both questions is actually no. I didn't feel her that she was distressed in any way. But as much as my ego wants to say, yeah, she was feeling me, she was loving it or whatever, it was clear she's doing it for her man. But not from a point of, I never got, he's making me do it, right? I got, this is what he likes, this is what turns him on, I'm gonna hold my man down. And my vibe with her was so cool, I never saw it as, hey, look, I'm into this guy or not, but it's like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, this is the guy I'm comfortable with making this happen for. And with all of the details coming out, I'm like, I'm tripping because I literally for all that time believed I was the only guy they were doing this with. Like I believed the story from day one. It was her birthday, they was trying something new, and now when they want to try this, I'm the go-to guy. And I was really walking around like to the few, because I didn't tell many people, but the few people I spoke to, I'm walking around like, yeah, I'm Cassie's boy toy. Diddy got all his girls. You know what I'm saying? Diddy got all his girls. But so I'm the guy that, yo, baby, you get a treat. And I'm the guy, like, I was just gassed for no reason, man. No reason.
Well, Cassie talked about how, these male escorts would urinate in her mouth. Did you ever do that?
Nah, man. I mean, what I described was literally what it was every single time. I heard some of the testimony too, and I can honestly say I didn't experience anything past what they call vanilla sex. Okay. There was nothing like crazy about it.
And you and Diddy never had any words together, interactions, conversations, anything?
Bro, the crazy thing about it is we never had eye contact.
Huh.
The first time I had eye contact with him was walking out of the courtroom after my testimony.
Okay. When did it stop?
Around March of 2015.
Okay. And how long did it go by that point? That was like 3 years, I guess?
It started September of 2012 and then ended March of 2015.
And the total sessions was what, about 12 or so?
I'm estimating. I estimate 8 to 12. I don't know exactly. I was assuming the federal government was going to tell me, because, man, that was the craziest process ever, man. Because when they contacted me, they had more information than I had.
Huh.
I didn't even remember. You know what I'm saying? So it was, so I estimate 8 to 12, but that's my testimony, so that's what it stayed at. But I really don't know the exact amount.
Okay, so time goes on. This is before the feds contacted you. You hear about the Cassie lawsuit. What did you think when you first read it?
So when I didn't dive into it, right? Mm-hmm. But I probably thought what every guy first thinks, right? And it's unfair, but this is what men think. You see a broken up couple and a woman files a lawsuit, and the first thing you think is
money grab.
Money grab.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the first thing I thought. I didn't think twice about it,
Okay, but you heard about the abuse and so forth. And, even if you didn't go through the lawsuit, you could see the headlines. Oh, Cassie claims that Diddy beat her up, that Diddy blew up Kid Cudi's car, that, all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So, you're not carefully reading it, but you're getting these headlines. So how are you feeling as someone that was connected to the two of them, hearing these stories of what was happening when you're not around?
So I got it in parts, right? So one of the first parts that I heard that was she was going to write a tell-all book, right? So I thought the lawsuit was not necessarily associated to her own sexual abuse, right? Obviously they had moments where he was physically abusive, right? But I'm not tying that into sex. And I'm thinking it's about, I know about crimes, Kid Cudi's car, the embarrassment of just physical abuse, and you don't want me to write this book, So I still at this time didn't know, the abuse and stuff that she went through on the level that was testified to. And I'm not a gossipy TMZ, like ear to the media guy. So I was really kind of just into my own thing at that time.
Well, yeah. I mean, after the lawsuit gets filed, a day later, he settles, which we find out was $20 million. And then you hear of a grand jury and possible criminal charges against Diddy. And then the video comes out in the hallway where you see Diddy basically beating her up like a man.
Yeah.
How do you process this? Here's this couple that you've been working for a few years. Everything seems hunky-dory and so forth. But now you're seeing Diddy really beat up Cassie badly.
Yeah.
What went in your head?
So believe it or not, before the charges and all the videos and stuff like that, I had already been contacted by the feds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got contacted before any charges before.
Okay. So what did the feds say when they contacted you?
So they tricked me. They duped me, right? And I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
I just get a call from my doorman that you got visitors. I have no idea who it is. I come down. It's two guys. You can tell they're law enforcement. And, I run a club. So incidents happened in the club, right? So I'm thinking it's a club situation. And they say, hey, can we talk to you? I'm like, yeah, we can talk right here in the lobby. And they're like, well, it's in regards to Mr. Sean Combs. And I'm like, whoa, come upstairs. You know what I'm saying? They even started laughing. Follow me, man. So I bring them upstairs. And bro, I was really naive because my involvement seemed consented, right? Everything seemed cool or whatever. I literally spoke to them as this, hey, bro, I mean, I'm here, but I don't really have anything for you. And they kind of went along with that. Like, yeah, we're interviewing hundreds of people. We just got your name. It's no big deal. We just want to hear what was going on. So I'm thinking, I'm giving them my details. Like, yeah, I didn't see this. I didn't see that. Well, what actually happened? So like kind of what I'm telling you. Well, it was just regular sex. I would come through. This is how it would be. He'll be across the room. And I'm giving them this information on the assumption that they're just doing due diligence and I'm never going to be contacted again.
Well, right. But to be fair, this is prostitution.
Yeah, but to be fair, I'm knowledgeable, right? Statute of limitations, 5-6 years, right? So
okay, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
not that it's
done.
a huge deal, I'm sure you're thinking, okay, whatever, someone paid me to.
Yeah, so I'm saying, I'm thinking it could be other stuff, but not what I got to say.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Like,
I'm thinking more of my own self-preservation, right? Like, nobody wants to, look, people talk trash about, yeah, I'll never testify, whatever, this, that, man. The feds show up to your house, for real? You know what I'm saying? All right, let me see how you respond, like, that's crazy.
Right. Okay, so the feds approach you, and then they don't follow up, and then you hear about the grand jury, and then the video comes out. So when you see the video, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, the video's tough, man. Anytime you see a woman abused in that manner violently, you're gonna look at that and be like, man, that's rough, man. Even kind of in his apology, right? He tried to say, hey, look, I was in a dark place. If you try to be a well-rounded human, right? You try to have empathy, right? And just, there are moments where people can get to places that dark or that low where your decisions and the thing that you make are just unfavorable, right? Mm-hmm. So, but it is something rough to see, when you see a physical abuse like that.
So the video comes out and then Diddy gets arrested and he's not given a bail. So he's sitting in jail and then things are getting crazier and crazier. A million lawsuits get filed. All these women and men over the years are claiming that they were sexually assaulted by Diddy and so forth. And we're getting to the point where, okay, there's no plea deal. It looks like Diddy's going to trial. Are the feds in contact with you at this point?
No.
At all?
No, man. They contacted me, I feel like it was March of 2024. And I didn't know I was testifying, truly know I was testifying, till about 30 days before I testified.
Okay, 30 days.
Yep.
So they hit you a month before the trial. And what did they say?
Well, it wasn't a month. So what they did was they hit me first December of 2024. So it went, let's say, from March to December, and they still didn't tell me overtly I was testifying. They hit me in December and they said, hey, look, we just want to let you know that we have to turn over our notes and the people we questioned to the defense. So just preliminary, we did speak to you, so we just want to let you know that you could be contacted. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool, man. Thanks for letting me know. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, well, it's nothing. But what kind of gave me a cue was before the guy got off the phone, he said, oh, and by the way, do you need help getting a lawyer? And I'm like, what do I need a lawyer for? Like, what? You know, and I was like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So I hung up, and I ended up calling some of my friends that are in law enforcement and stuff like that. And I said, oh, they spoke to me about needing a lawyer. And they went into immediately, well, is there any charges against you, anything, whatever? But it still didn't kind of make sense. So now fast forward to that 30 days before the trial, they called again and said, do you need help getting a lawyer? And I'm like, listen, man, why would I need a lawyer? And then they said, well, look, there's a possibility we're going to use you. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't understand what about my testimony makes sense, you know, to the charges of what you're trying to prove.
Well, did you have a choice not to testify?
I mean, I probably could have given them a hard time, but honestly, why? You know, look, I got a good friend that's a retired federal agent. You know, people, when you talk about dealing with the feds in the Southern District of New York, people scare the hell out of you, man.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want to mess with the subject. You don't want to be on their bad side. You don't want. So I'm like, dag, man, I don't want no problems, right? Like, and so I got to gauge the situation on my own, right? I don't feel like I have anything significant, and I'm just going to go through the motions. And I think I just kept telling myself, you know what? They're doing their due diligence. They want to, you know, be as thorough as possible, but I'm never really going to testify, you know? And I just kept being in denial, man, kind of like up to probably like a week before.
But you were given a date to come in.
So what they start is we're prepping you, right? So once they called me and I said, because dude, when I called around to try to get an attorney on my own, because I was like, I don't trust him. I got to get my own attorney, right? Just because of the high profile of the case, just to retain somebody as a witness, they were trying to charge me $20K. It was a $20,000 retainer. So I was like, I'm not doing that, you know? So I took their attorney and we went through a whole bunch of communications and stuff, which I was untrustworthy about. Like I told him straight up, like, yo, bro, I don't even know why I'm involved. I don't necessarily trust this, but it's going to be what it's going to be, right? So the first time they called me in was just supposed to be an interview. And I go with my attorney, and yo, it was a 5-hour Q&A. And when you get in, they basically threaten you. They say, listen, they put some papers in front of you, you're going to sign this, and they tell you, whatever you sign, it got to be the truth. And if it's not the truth, if it's the truth, you're good. But if anything is not the truth, we're going to prosecute you to the furthest of the law. It's like straight threat. You know what I'm saying?
Prosecute you for what? For perjury?
For perjury now.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess they exchanged notes and stuff like that. So I went and I just gave them all my details as honestly as possible. And the thing that really scared the hell out of me was they asked me all these specific questions. And as soon as they were done, yo, they handed me like a pamphlet, like a booklet with every text message, every conversation, everything. They had it already. So, you know, I thought about those mobster movies when they say, don't use the phone. You know what I'm saying? Don't whatever. Yo, man, that is so serious, man. Like, I don't have that same phone. I went from Android to iPhone. I don't know how they had every single one of my communications printed out right there. So it's a real thing. And honestly, that's why I'm lucky my details were able to share. They were honest. It was accurate. And so I guess that made me a credible witness, and they decided to use me.
Okay. And were you on, was it day 1 or day 2 or? It was early on.
Yeah, and I probably was day 5 or 6.
Day 5. Okay, yeah. I remember it was early. It was like the first week.
It was early.
Okay. Were you following the trial up to this point? Like watching Cassie's testimony and so forth?
Kind of, but I was kind of avoiding watching too much of it. You know, like, first of all, they stress you about that. Don't watch it. We don't want you to see it.
Really?
Or whatever. Yeah, they do. They said, don't stay away from it as far as possible. And then because it's a federal trial, it's hard to follow anyway. You know, you're getting the testimony in bits and pieces. It's more opinion.
It's not televised. It's not on television.
It's more opinion and ideology than it is actually what's being said. So it's hard. You got to probably really go out of your way to know what's going on.
Okay, so we get to the day of you actually taking the stand. How'd you feel, walking into that?
Shook. Yo, listen, man, I'm walking around 220 pounds. I usually walk around 245, 250.
Oh, so you're losing weight?
Yeah, man.
You were stressed out?
Yeah, probably about a month before, I started sleeping 2 hours a night, eating once every 36 hours. Like, I'm just kind of getting back to like a normal routine, and I was in denial of it, right? In my mind, I think I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good, or whatever, like, but it obviously was taking a toll on me, you know?
Okay, so you take the stand and, the feds ask you a bunch of questions.
So they don't ask me a bunch of questions coming into testifying. So if I was slated to testify on a Monday and it got pushed to Tuesday, so I did what was called a witness prep the Saturday before. So they just brought me on a Saturday. They just asked me a bunch of questions. All my witness preps were the same, where they just asked me a series of questions and they told me to answer them naturally. I was considered what they thought was a good witness, so it wasn't a lot of coaching. It was just answer, just give us the answers. And, then they tried to do what was called like a mock cross. So they cross-examined me with what they thought the defense would ask me. Mm-hmm. And once they felt that I guess it went the way that they were happy with, then it was just, we'll see you on Monday.
Right. And you talked about some of the same stuff that we're talking about in this interview. Now, when it came to cross-examination, what kind of questions were they trying to catch you with?
Yo, so oddly, man, my cross-examination was pleasant. And, I have to give the attorney who cross-examined me his angle. You would think somebody wants to discredit me, right? But he went a different route where it seemed like he wanted to make me more credible. Whereas he went into how long I've been a male entertainer and the fact that I deal with women for a living. And it's true, right? When I'm coming out to dance for women, I have to read the room. I have to read the comfortability of a woman because I'm walking up to a stranger and I gotta make a sexual gestures, right? So you do have to understand, is this woman comfortable? This woman's not comfortable or whatever. So his cross-examination played on that. Like, look, you've been dancing 25 years. You know when a woman's uncomfortable. And if a woman was uncomfortable, would you continue to interact with her? And of course, no, right? I'm not gonna interact with a woman that doesn't want. And so then he spun that into, well, didn't you read that from Cassie, right? If you have read she was uncomfortable, would you had continued? Which the truth is, no. Of course I wouldn't. So where I thought it was gonna be this attack, like I'm hearing some of the other people are getting on cross, he actually bolstered my credibility to then speak to the fact of, well, do you feel like the sexual actions were consented? You didn't see distress. You didn't see her uncomfortable. And listen, that's just really the truth. I did not.
Well, yeah, because was it Cassie that always would interact with you to bring you back and so forth?
Always.
Right, so it wasn't even Diddy, it was her. So she was basically engaging in prostitution, if you really think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
in terms of hiring a prostitute.
Yeah, I only communicated with her. She always paid me, except for one occasion where he kind of threw money strip show style, and I ended up receiving that money he threw at the end of the night. And even that money, he threw it on the bed. She gathered it up and handed it to me. It just came from him throwing it. So the cross went to that angle. So I didn't have a difficult cross. It was more or less just validating me as somebody that can make good choices in terms of a woman's comfortability with the moment.
Right. And you say you're still trying to figure out why you were called to testify.
Yeah, like one thing that the prosecution never did was they never sat me down and said, well, this is the part of your testimony that works for our case. Mm-hmm. They just asked me questions and told me to answer them. So I still to this point, I'm not clear what part of my testimony that they find valuable.
Well, yeah, and I've been saying this for a while because I've commented about this case since the beginning, not only on my show, but on Pierce Morgan and other people's podcasts and so forth. It's like Diddy's being charged with sex trafficking, but you yourself said you didn't feel like you were trafficked.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not at all.
In fact, it would almost seem like if anyone was being charged with sex trafficking, it'd be Cassie at this point because she contacted you, she paid you. She was engaging in sex with you. Diddy was just there.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, she probably could have been charged with these things herself, but she was given immunity not to, to actually speak against Diddy on that. And I've always kind of had a problem with this. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like this case, and I've spoken to lawyers that are close to this case. They've said that this is really, at the heart of it, a domestic violence case. It has ballooned into a RICO and sex trafficking and, prostitution with transportation and so forth. But to me, it just seems like here's a couple that were abusive. There's a lot of drugs involved, and that's really what this is about. I don't think of it as a RICO. I don't think of it as this other stuff. I think of it as that. But this is ballooned into something bigger. I mean, would you agree with that, or do you think there really is something bigger based on what you've experienced at this point?
Yeah, I think I would agree with what you're saying. Again, like I said earlier, we're all getting bits and pieces. So we're framing, and you got to remember, the people who are giving the bits and pieces, that's their narrative, right? I'm not pulling transcripts, you know what I'm saying? Like reading the full testimony, but it's based on what my understanding of sex trafficking is. That's another reason why I said, hey, look, I live in New York. I only dealt with them in New York.
Right. You were transported anyway.
I totally eliminated myself. Like, I can't be sex trafficking. That's why I said I'm not clear what was going on with my testimony, and I haven't. Even with the other guy who testified, he wasn't traveling interstate. It was no focus on that. And, the RICO stuff, I guess, his assistants setting up the room, cleaning up the room, getting, the baby all like when you hear the details, it's hard for me to analyze it and understand what constitutes and aligns with the charges.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it now, do you feel like you helped the prosecution or the defense?
I always thought my testimony would favor the defense.
Yeah, that's what it appears like.
I always thought that. That's why I said I wasn't sure why I was called in. But again, man, like you could tell. What I will say is, you can tell there's no smoking gun, right? There's no smoking gun in regards to this is the nail in the coffin. So it looks like there's going to be a whole bunch of testimony and facts and evidence to compile everything together. Yeah. And that's why when you hear there's still weeks of testimony left, it has to be a whole bunch of evidence gathered for one whole sum. So I'm assuming that's what the verdict's going to be determined on.
Yeah, and like, for example, I interviewed this girl named Mia Santoro. She was part of the Tay-K murder case. And we talked about her experience being sex trafficked. At 14 years old, she was hanging out with an older girl, and she was taking her to strip clubs, which turned into her actually stripping at like 15, to having to prostitute herself in motel rooms with a bunch of guys every day, and, being given drugs and being beaten and so forth. That's what I think about when I think of sex trafficking. Like, that is sex trafficking. Mm-hmm. Having a 30-something-year-old man that's being paid to have sex with someone you probably have sex with for free, and everyone's with it, to me is not sex trafficking.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, I don't have the legal acumen, right, to analyze this. I know my part in it. I'm still a little confused, the significance, but they were adamant in using me in my testimony. So, how this is determined, how they instruct the jury to look at the evidence based on the charges, it would be interesting to know, like, what that dynamic is.
Well, at one point, they showed the pictures of all the male escorts, or at least the ones they could find, and you actually know one of them.
No, I didn't. In that collage of pictures, I didn't know anybody. I only knew of the first guy I don't think he was in the collage.
Okay, but he took the stand?
Yeah, the one who took the stand. And just, I know of him.
Who is this?
Daniel Phillips.
Daniel Phillips, got it.
Yeah, and I know of him because at the time I wasn't, but now I'm a part owner of Hunkomania, which is a male review company, and he was a manager prior to me becoming one of the owners. So when I started working, I always heard of him, but I never met him personally or had any interactions with him.
Got it. Well, you did an interview with CNN. So during your interview, you actually apologized to Cassie. You said, I would apologize because I had no idea, no indication of what she was going through. Obviously, my involvement kind of furthered her suffering. Me, knowing that as a man, being raised by a single mom and a grandmother, just the thought of partaking in a scenario where a woman is possibly being abused is tough to hear. I would just apologize to her and tell her I was really remorseful and regret if I contributed to a bad experience for her. But based on what I'm hearing, it actually wasn't a bad experience.
Well, again, man, look, I'm gonna take her at her word, right? I will adamantly say I saw no cues of anything that seemed distressful. But if this was an ongoing cycle of abuse, as she's testifying to, right? And if that ultimately is proven as valid and as her experience and that's a real thing, then I'm gonna have remorse for that. You know, I don't want to be I don't even like the idea of being in a sexual situation where a woman's engaging me and this is being done under some sort of forceful pressure. Like, this is crazy, man.
Now, since you took the stand, other couples have been reaching out to you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like daily, man.
Daily,
bro.
Are they talking money at this point?
It's just, hey, man, I want to hire you for my wife, sending the photo. You know what I'm saying? Like text messages, just punish her. I just say, this is the company. Like, it's actually daily, man. It's daily. And I'm so paranoid, man. Like I said, dude, I'm a regular dude, man. Like, once the feds contacted me, everything feels like a setup. I'm not responding. I want no parts. I'm out of business, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, so if a couple offered you $10,000 to do something similar,
it ain't gonna get that far.
It's not gonna get that far.
It's not gonna get that far.
Okay.
You know, if you got any common sense, how do I know that's not? It could be somebody just texting me to get me to agree to it, then screenshot it, and look, Punisher's still in business. It's on the Shade Room the next day. Like, come on, man. Like, I got enough negative publicity. I don't need more, man.
Well, how do you think the trial will actually end?
So, look, man, if I just remove myself from everything, right? I think it's too soon to say. Like, every time I hear there's weeks and weeks of testimony still going on, we don't know who's coming to the stand, what's coming on. I think when the prosecution has a witness, you hear all these things that are like, wow, you know, this sounds crazy. And then the defense comes up and does cross, and then it creates a space of, wait a second, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's been such a interesting, evenly matched. There's some obviously brilliant attorneys on this case.
Oh, yeah.
And they're making a strong case for both sides, man. And I would hate to be a juror, and have to filter through this stuff and come to a conclusion because, this is so many people's lives are being affected on the highest level, man. It's like, this is crazy.
I mean, when you left the stand and you and Diddy, your eyes locked, what was that like?
And maybe I'm doing this for myself. It was relief because when I went to the stand, I was terrified, bro. Like I don't know if you recall, but when they first called me to the stand, it was about 10 minutes before lunch. And I thought I was fine, man. And I walked into the courtroom and I had like an anxiety attack. Like my body was shaking, and I looked cool and I spoke cool, but I was shaking and I purposely avoided any eye contact. Like I didn't want to know where he was. I didn't know because I understand that I'm walking to the stand for the prosecution, right? So, and everybody else that's come up there has said crazy stuff, right? So he's probably assuming, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is this guy gonna say? So I just wanted to avoid any eye contact. But I want to believe that there's an understanding that I have to testify to the truth, right? They've been taking notes and getting information from me for well over a year. And I felt like I did that, right? So I told the truth. I'm sure the details are embarrassing, but at the same time, it's the truth. And walking out, I felt I was leaving the stand with my integrity and doing the right thing. So I wanted to acknowledge them. And I looked at them. Thank God there wasn't like a death stare, you know what I'm saying? Or anything like that. And I looked at him. We locked eyes. I kind of nodded. He nodded back. And I went out the courtroom. And then I'm hoping that results in no, from his part, no negative, and I have no idea, right? But, what I was compelled to do was something I didn't have control over,
Yeah, no, I remember reading through your testimony and going like, I don't see the crime here. I don't even really understand why he's on there because it doesn't really help the prosecution. In fact, it does kind of help the defense. It shows that she's with it. I remember one of the other, I think, male escorts talked about the urinating in the mouth, and he said that Cassie asked him to do that. It was her idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, I originally was saying that my guess is that he's going to beat the RICO, he's going to beat the sex trafficking. He might get hit with some prostitution charges, which might be a few years at the most. With time served, he should be out soon. But then with all the crazy stuff that's coming out, with the abuse and all the witnesses, I'm thinking, well, he might actually lose this trial, but I think Trump will probably pardon him.
Yeah.
Because
because when you think of the totality of it.
And look, like Trump just pardoned NBA Youngboy, Larry Hoover. He pardoned Kodak Black and Lil Wayne before. And I had Roger Bonds here, who actually knows you. I can put you guys on FaceTime together. And he used to tell me how there were like at least 5 different occasions where he would take Diddy to go meet with Trump. And they would be behind closed doors for like 3-4 hours, just chopping it up. So they have a real relationship. And Trump seems to be real loose with that.
Yeah, with take care of his people.
Yeah, with that pen in terms of letting people out. So that's what I think will happen. But ultimately, who knows? The trial is we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, still early.
Now, you wrote a book which touched on this, but the main focus of the book was erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
And you talked about how it's mostly mental. And listen, me as well as probably every other man has gone through it. I have OCD. So, if I have sex with someone and I don't come, suddenly I think, oh my God, I can't come with anybody. Yeah. And then that turns into this whole cycle in my head, which messes me up until I break out of it. And then I get back into my sexual routine. But with you, it got so serious that you actually decided at age 47 to get an operation.
Yeah, man. I gotta.
What type of operation is this?
Yo, I went and I got a penis implant, man. I'm officially bionic.
You were the first man I've ever spoken to who has an implant. So what led up to you actually going to the most serious option?
So when I went through the psychological issue where I couldn't get an erection, it became almost like a trauma type of situation. So I could not get an erection without having anxiety. So it stopped me from being able to enjoy sex. So when you find out there's nothing wrong with you physically, you're either going to sit with a therapist and talk about why your erection doesn't work because your mommy didn't hug you, or you're gonna do a foolproof fix. And I had a homeboy who shoots porn, and he got it for work. And this guy got on the phone with me and was like, "It's the best thing I ever did." So then when I went to a consultation, the doctor had a booklet where you can call former patients and talk to them about their experience. I called 4 dudes, all like 70-something years old. And as soon as I got on the phone, I said, "Hey, I'm 47 years old. I'm thinking about getting an implant." They was like, "Do it, young blood. It's the best. I wish I would have did it at your age. You're going to have so much fun." By the time I got off the phone with these guys, I was like, "I'm doing it. That's it. Like, there's no way I'm not fixing this." And after you get it done, you realize that, once you get in your head with the anxiety of it, whether it's OCD, whatever it is, it's something that you think about constantly, every time you in a sexual situation. So after getting it done, and now it's foolproof, it's completely reliable, like it's never gonna fail. I can get hard and stay as hard as long as I want. There's no denying it. I didn't realize how much anxiety and stress that left my body with knowing that there's no more complications with sex. And the fact that women can't see it, it's no way a man has it, and the way that it works, like you get the best erection of your life every time, all the time. It was just a no-brainer, man. Like, it's probably top 3 decisions in my life, yo.
Okay. How much did it cost?
I went to literally the top doctor in New York City, paid out of pocket, and I got it for like $32,000.
$32,000.
Yeah, so basically I paid 12 cash, financed 20, I got a penis note.
You financed your penis implant. What happens if you don't pay?
Hey, well, you can't repo it.
You get repoed.
You can't repo it. You ain't getting it back. You better hope I pay.
Who's a penis repo man? How does someone end up with that job?
Yeah, man. But, look, man, every time you turn on the TV, there's a Viagra, Cialis commercial, testosterone boosters.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody's using enhancement, but nobody got a problem, right? Just me, right? But, dude, I just felt me going through my struggle, I didn't have a resource. I didn't have a book I can open up, tell me it's mental, tell me it could be anxiety, tell me why the pills are not working, tell me what other options, and then knowing that when all else fails, you have this option. So I just wrote the book that I could have used. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't do it medically, because when you do research it, you get a whole bunch of medical stuff. Or if you go on the forums, you just hear a whole bunch of dudes crying about their problems, right? So I wanted to write a book. It's centered around my life. It's funny stories. It shows how each story of my life contributed to developing erectile dysfunction, my ways of trying to fix it, and then if all else fails, you got the option of an implant. So it's kind of like a guide. It's a guide to guys going through problems, and it gives you a bunch of information that can, even if implant is not your decision, it tells you all the other things out there and what you can do, and if you're using it, why it's not working for you. So I thought it would be a good tool, man. So I'm hoping it reaches some guys, and I am already getting positive feedback. It made bestseller and impotence on Amazon, and I literally have guys in my DM asking me for doctor recommendations, telling me it helped them, So it's kind of cool, man. Like I can't front.
Okay, now there's 2 types of penis implants. There is an inflatable penis implant and a semi-rigid or malleable.
You
penis
cannot
implant.
touch that semi-rigid malleable one, right? That one is kind of the old school, old technology. You want to get the 3-piece inflated. The 3-piece inflated is as natural as it's going to come.
So they cut open your penis?
So the way it works on on either side of your urethra, like let's say your pee hole, right? There's 2 straws, and the straws run from the tip to the base of your penis. Now, those straws is what fill up with blood to create your erection. So I don't know if you, I never noticed this to the surgery, but if you look at your testicles, there's a crease right down the center. So they make a small incision in that crease, and it allows them to access the base of the straws. So once they cut open the base of the straws, they then put in implant cylinders that run that whole length of the straw. They take what looks like a pump. So it looks like you have 3 testes, like 3 nuts, right?
Okay.
They drop that in your testicles, and then they connect it to a reservoir. Somehow we got spaced by our bladder that they can put a little reservoir, and they put solution in it.
Okay.
And when it's time for sex, I just grab my testicles, give it a couple of Reebok pumps, you know what I'm saying? And my man, I got freezer meat, right? It's the hardest thing. I mean, literally, if you think about the best erection you ever had in your life, that's what you got. And when I'm ready for it to go back down, next to the pump is another like little release button. I just click that button and basically just kind of squeeze, and then it goes right back down, and I'm good to go.
I mean, but you're not having sex 24 hours a day. You are, number one, do you feel it when you're not actually having sex?
No, man. It feels, because
like your actual penis. You can't tell your new penis and your old penis apart.
I can tell because
I feel very weird saying this, but it is what it is.
So I think the science behind it is all of our nerve endings and stuff that creates feelings. Let's say they're on the out of our skin, and maybe let's say a centimeter down. The surgery is done beneath that. So I don't feel anything. I guess it would be similar to like somebody getting like a metal rod, right? Like, you're not gonna touch the outside of your leg and feel where the metal rod in there, right? But you know it's there. So the implant's in there, but anything associated with my nerves and feelings and stuff like that, I don't feel it at all. I know it's there because obviously it's I can inflate it and deflate it, but you don't have a physical feeling of it.
Okay. Now, there are risks associated with the surgery.
Yes, and
there's infection, implant problems, where basically something breaks, and there's also internal erosion or adhesion, where, the implant might stick to the skin inside the penis and wear away the skin from inside the penis. Sometimes the implant could break through the skin and so forth. So, for example, I've heard from someone somewhat connected to Elon Musk that he has a botched penis implant. Have you ever heard this?
Yeah, but see, I think you're talking about 2 different procedures.
Oh, this is like the semi-rigid thing?
No,
he got?
This is, so the one that you're talking about that you get erosion and stuff like that, that's for size. So.
Oh, like.
Yeah,
So in the straightest way possible, I'm going to ask this question.
Okay.
Are you the same size that you were before,
yeah,
or did you gain a few inches?
The one that you do just for your erection, you do not gain any additional size.
Okay.
It's just going to give you what you have to the best of its ability.
Yeah.
The thing that gets the erosion and stuff like that is it's an implant that's kind of like a sleeve, and it's for girth. So imagine, when the toilet paper thing is completely gone and you got that kind of cardboard circle, you take that and you kind of split that in half, and they make an incision at the base of the penis, slide that sleeve in, and now you instantly go from a hot dog to a hot sausage, right? So a lot of guys that want more size, they get that type of surgery, but then that's the complication, erosion. The implant can move and stuff like that. The complications you spoke about that's associated with the one that I have is the infection.
Right.
An infection is really a risk you take when you're dealing with a extremely inexperienced doctor.
Do you know men that have gotten, the other kind that actually makes them bigger?
Yeah. I know a couple of guys that got the Panoma one.
See, that to me has just always been so crazy, like conceptually. I mean, it's so interesting how it's a bit of a double standard, right? You see women who get BBLs and breast implants all day long, every day. I know a lot of women who have those, but like, listen, I'm not the world's biggest man, but I've never even considered, expanding my penis through an operation. Like, that just seems to be crazy, because if something goes wrong, and to me, it's not even that serious, that it's just like, this would kind of ruin my life in a way. Yeah. In fact, who did this? John Bobbitt, I heard, did this. You know who that is?
Yeah, that's the guy
whose wife cut off his penis and threw it in the bushes. But they reattached it, and I guess he got a penis enlargement, but the surgery ended up getting botched. So he had some sort of weird situation after that. Like,
Well, listen, so remember, we said everything's psychological, right? So I do know guys that have confided in me that have anxiety and stuff because they're self-conscious about their size, right? So I obviously, you're confident, right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, I was confident, but you gotta, if you're being empathetic and putting yourself in that guy's shoes, if he's going into every sexual situation feeling defeated, then you gotta do what you gotta do. Your confidence comes first, right? So I guess in that state, the risk is worth it, right? And we always hear the horror story of it, right? We always gonna focus on the complication, but if they do 1,000 of these, if one goes wrong every 1,000, you gotta hope you get lucky, right?
Man, listen, I'd rather have a small penis than a botched penis. I
got you.
But you know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen,
if I was those guys, I would seriously think about it. But,
I completely agree with you, but I'm not gonna say I'd rather have a limp penis than a hard penis. You know what I'm saying? Like, it gotta work. You know what I mean? So I'm doing what I gotta do to stay in the game for sex, I
think Liberace had a implant as well, right?
I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, because I remember I saw like a movie about him, and I remember it got mentioned in the movie. Yeah, he was gay, by the way. And,
Well, I mean, hey,
whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
I guess the part I don't quite understand also is that just because you're hard doesn't necessarily mean you'll come.
Well, desire is real, right?
Yeah.
But that goes with everything.
You could be hard, but you're just not into the girl. She's maybe not into you. The mood isn't right. You got other things on your mind. You're hard. I mean, there's times where I've had sex for 30, 40 minutes. I just didn't come.
Yeah.
Sometimes even longer than that. Sometimes I've, gotten with a girl and we've had multiple sessions, and each time I just don't come, because I just can't get my head into it.
Yeah.
I stay hard. That part's cool, but so just being hard doesn't mean you're necessarily going to orgasm, right or wrong.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with pleasure, right?
Oh.
This has to do with ability.
Huh. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So if ability is your problem.
That's interesting. Okay, so it has nothing to do with pleasure, it's just ability.
Yeah, I mean,
look, that's a little bit of a mind fuck.
Yeah, but I mean, but if you want the pleasure, you have the option, right? What you're saying is you always have the option, but the pleasure is not a priority, right? Or the pleasure doesn't necessarily make it there for you every single time. But there's some guys that want the pleasure, but they don't have the ability.
Okay.
Well,
and from what I understand, you actually told your dad about it, who was like 60 at the time?
68.
He was 68 at the time?
Yeah.
And he actually went and did it himself?
You can't tell him nothing, man. He probably got on gray sweatpants right now. Can't tell him nothing, man.
I mean, how old is he right now?
70.
70. I mean, how much dick are you slaying at a 70?
Man, it's not about how much he's slaying. Like my dad. So think about it, man. Like, life does men dirty, right? It usually takes us to get to an advanced age to get all our ducks in a row. You know what I'm saying? You got the money, you got the house, you got the retirement, you got everything set up. But then most guys, that's when you check out sexually, right? You decline, and a lot of guys are older, set up great, and they can't perform. And that was my dad, right? My dad had everything, and my dad's super social, funny guy. Women like him. He still looks good. He's in shape. But I noticed he had nothing going on in terms of dealing with women. And so when I told him I was getting the surgery, which everybody does, I'm getting the surgery. No, don't do that. You crazy. What are you doing? And then after I got it done, and a few months later, I'm like, yo, man, this is crazy or whatever. He's like, yo, what's that doctor's number? He went straight and got it done, man. And now he's a new man. He's a new man. And I want to say the first few months, my dad was turned into he was bugging out. You know what I'm saying? But it's come back to normal.
Bugging out what? Just a bunch of
just women, bro.
Women
Like my dad, 68 years old. Every girl he dated was younger than me.
Okay.
He was making it happen. You know what I'm saying? But now he's back to normal, but just he still makes him feel different because now if a woman flirts, now if he has interactions, he's not doing it from a place of insecurity. You know what I'm saying? He's confident. He knows if it goes there, I'm good. And when you remove that from your psychological standpoint, bro, it's empowering, bro. There's nothing more emasculating than wanting to have sex and can't.
No, man, I feel you. Listen, I've told women that in the bedroom, there are 2 words that every man dreads. What's wrong? When a woman says that, and I'm sure it's coming from a good place with them, there is nothing more damaging to your ability to perform when you hear that.
Yeah, man.
Because then you're like, okay, let me come up with an excuse. Oh, I've had a lot on my mind. I'm stressed out about my work.
Mine was I just did legs in the gym. My legs are sore. I can't get past the soreness. I have my excuses lined up.
Man, listen, like, I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I go through the same types of insecurities and, things in my head and so forth. And I got friends like, Adam 22 who actually do porn, who could actually perform with a camera. And I mean,
that's,
cameras and a bunch of other guys. I mean, he did a threesome with his wife, and another guy. Some men are built differently. I remember in our last interview, we were talking about this. And he was talking about a scene, he knew the company that put it on, and it was like a scene with like 5 guys and a girl, and 4 of the guys couldn't climax. But one of the guys had like a superpower. He literally went 4 more times.
That's crazy.
One after another to make it look like the other guys were actually climaxing as well.
Crazy.
I know a guy who told me he showed up for a 5-guy gangbang. So him and 4 other black dudes all banging this chick. 4 of them couldn't finish. But this guy has the superpower of being able to come multiple times. He went 5 times in a row. And they passed this off. This is out there in the world. But it seems like, you see 5 different dicks coming. No, it's the same guy 5 times in a row because the other 4 dudes couldn't do it.
Everyone's built differently.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Absolutely.
Pretty sure you can't do that.
I'm a sniper, bro.
I don't think
got
anyone
one
else,
round. I got one round.
The rest of my staff could do it. But some dudes could be like, one after the other. I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
But I can't.
That's not bad.
It just is what it is, But listen, you got the operation. You feel it's great. I'm sure a lot of men go through different versions of this. And look, like, I've messed around with Viagra and Cialis and stuff like that. And, has its advantages and disadvantages and so forth. I remember Viagra would give me headaches. Cialis is actually not too bad at lower dosages and stuff like that. But it's not always foolproof either. I've taken Viagra and not been able to climax.
Yeah.
I could get hard, but sometimes I could even get hard. So sometimes if I'm just not into the person, even with the Viagra, I just can't quite perform at the level that I want to perform at.
Yeah.
And then you get the headaches afterwards with like Viagra and so forth. So if you found something that worked for you and you love it, your dad loves it, great.
Yeah.
More power to you. And I think that this is something that 99% of men wouldn't admit.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to feel like they're Superman. And, I could take down 20 women in a night and I never go soft and I got 14 inches and blah, 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 blah. But the reality is it's not that. We're all human. We all have feelings. We all have insecurities. We all get in our head. We all deal with various levels of attraction and so forth. And, I think you putting it out there, especially on a platform like this, because I don't think you talked about this in your other interviews.
Yeah, no, I haven't, man. So, I actually appreciate you for
of course. No, you told me to read the book before the interview, and this is what we did.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
I appreciate you putting it out there, and I think a lot of men who are going through this are probably going to reach out to you or actually do their own research and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Sharay, thank you for coming in today. And, obviously you came in for the Diddy and Cassie story. And, at the end of the day, you did what you were supposed to do. You took the stand, and I don't think you threw anyone under the bus. I think what you did was honorable, because you could have gone a totally different direction.
Yeah.
You could have said, like, and I've been saying this, like me and Roger Bonds were talking about this, where you see a bunch of stuff, like you said, you've heard the gay rumors about Diddy.
Yeah.
Right? This trial doesn't help. This doesn't help that particular storyline.
Yeah.
Do you think that Puff was actually doing really gay stuff with a man? Getting penetrated, getting head from a man, like?
Myself, I don't think so, because it's like what you said. I think somebody would step with everybody stepping up the way that they is now.
That's what I'm saying.
I believe somebody would say, and we all know, we all know the bisexual men, we all know the gay men love to scream and tell somebody, yeah, you think you all that, this is what happened.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying, for that not to happen, I don't think he was.
That's what I'm saying.
I think he just I can't even say he's a freak. He's more than a freak. You know what I'm saying? I think he's just weird.
And, you see Diddy doing a bunch of stuff that's definitely gay-ish, right? Sitting in the corner masturbating while some dude is banging your girlfriend is gay-ish.
Yeah.
Right? It's cuckoldish.
Yeah, cuckoldish, yeah.
Taking a dude's cum and having a girl rub it on your nipples is pretty gay-ish, right?
Yeah.
Not something I would even consider doing.
Yeah.
Either of those things, actually.
Yeah.
But I have yet to see someone take the stand, and at this point, they have all the leeway to do it, to take the stand and say, yeah, and then Diddy gave some dude head, or Diddy got his back blown out, or something like that.
Yeah.
Wait, do you think that Diddy is gay based on what you've encountered yourself?
No, I didn't see any gay. And I was paranoid for it. And I never at one point felt that, all right, there's some sort of suggestive stuff towards me. It was, and I just didn't.
So you think that's almost the equivalent, like, for example, like, I like to watch porn when I'm, having sex with a woman, right? That's just something that turns me on. This almost seems like the next level of that. Like, not only am I watching porn, but I'm actually seeing it in real life.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think in part of her testimony, she said that she would engage in the situations with the escorts, and then they would actually have sex, like after the fact. Like,
her and Diddy.
Yeah. So the thing that I made up in my mind, obviously dealing with the erection stuff or whatever, I questioned is, could Diddy have a erection impotence problem? This was the story that I thought. And maybe, all right, I'm bringing this in because this supplements where I'm struggling.
Yeah, you hear about that, like men who can't really get hard, but they get off on their work.
Yeah, so I come across
thing,
that.
yeah.
That's the cuckolding, right? Yeah. So I suspected a whole, me trying to figure out, and this is in the moment, right? Because I'm looking at this beautiful woman, obviously this guy's rich, right? Why would he do this? And I kind of sold myself on the story. Maybe he had an issue and he's trying to compensate, right? But as more details come out, you just don't know, right?
Yeah, we probably will never know. Yeah. The real story, because it's very convoluted. It's very convoluted. Well, Sharay, man, thank you for coming in, and wish you all the best.
Thanks, man. Just a quick shout out. The name of the book is In Search of Freezer Meat. It's on Amazon, just about every platform. Audible book too, which I hate reading, so get the Audible book. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's what it is. Until next time. Peace.
Thank you.